Hi, everyone. My name is David Kahlich, and I'd like to share a devotion with you today on what is enough. First, I'd like to start off with a parable. It's not a biblical parable, but it's a parable that I've heard multiple times in different church services and other services. So here we go. One day, an old man was walking down a beach that was littered with thousands of starfish that had been washed ashore by the high tide. As he walked along, he came upon a young girl who was eagerly throwing the starfish back into the ocean, one by one. Puzzled, the man looked at the girl and asked what she was doing. The young girl paused, looked up, and replied, "I'm throwing starfish back into the ocean. The tide has washed them up onto the beach, and they can't get back to the sea by themselves. When the sun gets high, they will die, unless I throw them back into the water." The old man replied, "But there must be tens of thousands of starfish on this beach. I'm afraid you won't really be able to make much of a difference." The girl kept going, bent down, picked up yet another starfish, and threw it as far as she could into the ocean. Then she turned and smiled and said, "It made a difference to that one." I like this parable because it reminds me of how much is enough. And this parable brings me a little bit back to John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, and his 3 simple rules of do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. I think if we stick to those 3 rules, we'll have plenty. So to answer my question of what is enough, as long as we're fulfilling those 3 rules of doing no harm, doing good, and staying in love with God, then we'll have a life of plenty and a fulfilling godly life. So oftentimes I ask myself, could I be doing more? Could I be volunteering more? Could I be serving the church in a better capacity? Could I be a better father, a better husband, a better son, a better friend? It can often be overwhelming to think that there's always something more to do. And quite honestly, there probably is something we could always be doing. But as long as we're fulfilling what our meaning is, and again, going back to those 3 rules of doing no harm, doing good, and staying in love with God, then we'll be doing our best. And at the end of the day, that's all we can really ask for. So that really helps me to think about. And whether it's throwing starfish or just helping out a coworker getting through a rough spot, we'll be doing what we're meant to be doing by fulfilling those 3 rules. So I like to keep it simple. I like to think about those types of things that might lead me to a better way of life or a better way of serving my fellow people. So I'd like to keep those 3 rules in mind. Hope everybody's having a good week. I know it's a crazy time, and stay safe out there. We'll get through this all together, and at the end of the day, keep those 3 rules in mind. Do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. Have a great week, everybody.